So in this segment, we're going to be discussing the Windsor Framework, baby food firms to follow new EU arsenic rules, despite being based in the United Kingdom. So a trade body representing UK baby food suppliers said it will continue to manufacture to EU standards on arsenic residues. Now, why would companies go out of their way to adhere to EU rules despite it costing them more money when they don't have to if they want to keep making in the UK? Interesting. A curious case indeed. So last week it was reported that a new EU rule was reducing the permitted level of arsenic, a chemical found typically in food. The British Specialist Nutrition Association, BSNA, said, quote, any product produced in GB will be compliant with the EU levels to protect the right to export to all EU countries, end quote. So it's pretty clear why they're doing this. It's because they want to protect their export market. And boom, there's your answer. For major companies that are built not just for the domestic markets, but also to export the goods, ignoring the rules of said export market means you can't export there. So it goes to show you how much divergence from EU rules might not make a difference unless companies set up two manufacturing hubs, or one line for Great Britain and another line for exporting to the EU. But in this context, setting up two lines would not make sense because this is a minor change for the EU. So it just goes to show you how kind of important the EU market is to certain manufacturers. And these are big companies, which we'll talk about in a minute. Arsenic is a naturally occurring substance that can cause cancer. It is possible to eliminate arsenic. It is impossible to eliminate arsenic from food, but there are maximum legal levels, and it's clear the EU have kind of tweaked the amount that they think is safe. The BSNA, which represents major suppliers like Danone and Nestle, said the majority of baby food products from the Great British market are imported from the EU. These are huge multinational companies that will export around the world. But in the context of Europe, any of the big UK-based factories would most likely be set to export across Europe. So if they did choose to adhere to just UK rules, they would have factories that are either overproducing products because they have no one to export them to, or they would just have to cut supply staff. It looks like these companies mainly make their products in the EU and then export them into Great Britain, so it won't make a difference anyways in that context. Queen's University academics Vivian Gravy and Lisa Clare Witten have been poring over the framework text, including a draft decision by the Joint Committee, the body that oversees the detail. Their initial reading of the relevant draft Joint Committee decision is that this rollback of EU law only applies to goods entering from Northern Ireland and will not apply to Northern Ireland producers. So this means you can have Great British goods exported to Northern Ireland that are below EU standards, but Northern Ireland-based producers have to adhere to EU rules. I'm not sure their reading on it is 100% correct, but they are the experts, not me, so I'll defer to them. But that is one of my concerns, that as the two sides kind of diverge, we will see more challenges. And it might not just be from UK deregulation, but it could be down to the EU creating tighter, more stringent legislation. That's where the divergence could occur. Separately, the BBC says, on agri-food in particular, the command paper says the EU rules, quote, reflect long-standing arrangements, end quote, and protect the integrated supply chains on which many industries rely whenever they sell goods. The only way to really protect those supply chains, we really need alignment with the EU, but even then, that still might not be enough for certain supply chains. We have seen companies reroute supply chains, the ones based in Northern Ireland. A lot of them tried their best, some of them didn't try at all. But for some, they have faced problems where perhaps they could not find EU supplies for whatever reason and are really hoping that Green Lane helps them out. It's understood that in the case of the arsenic rules, the government does not believe the new EU rules will have any material impact on the production of baby food in Northern Ireland. I mean, they're going to have to adjust their arsenic levels according to the new EU rules, but it does not sound like it's something that's overly hard to do, at least I hope it's not. It's also important to note the situation developed where UK standards are higher than EU standards. Northern Ireland producers would still be able to sell their products in Great Britain. This is due to market access principles in the UK Internal Market Act. I mean, if a country or area has higher standards than you do, that's not going to be a trade barrier. So then making this point makes no sense. Also, given that GB are looking to commit to divergence, making this point seems pretty comical. That arguing that the Northern Ireland could have higher standards than us, but they're still going to be able to export to us. Okay, I mean that's just a weird point to make. I found this pretty funny as well. So this is a screenshot saying the Windsor Framework, Northern Ireland will not follow EU rules on arsenic levels in baby food. So this was, So the BSN Association cleared this up pretty quickly within 2 days, which shows how important the agency views EU trade. But also the Brussels effect. We have the case where the UK's arsenic levels can be higher than those in the EU, but manufacturers are sticking to EU levels due to wanting to trade with the EU and not wanting to set up two different production lines. This is a minor example, but if the UK does decide to deregulate more, I wonder if we'll keep seeing the Brussels effect in action. So this is pretty funny, to be honest with you, that they come out within 2 days. So the BBC posted this article about 2 days ago. Northern Ireland will not follow EU on arsenic levels in baby food. I don't know why they have to write everything like a tabloid headline, but clearly they are, and that's what's funny. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, support the channel on Patreon if you can, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.